Tom? Shall I go here? Yeah.
No, thank you very much, Matthew. So we've just got time for a couple of quick questions. But before we do, Chairman's privilege. I've got one that I wanted to ask Matthew, which is this whole idea of sharing data and data use and so on. We all know that we've got to move towards more digital agriculture, if you like. But there are a couple of issues that hold things up. First of all, the fact that we're all, as UK farmers, sitting on an awful lot of data already.
Yeah.
But it's all in legacy systems, and it's all slightly locked up in old platforms that don't share data. The second issue is the whole issue of data ownership, and I think as farmers we're quite nervous about giving up our data, giving up control of our data, and what the consequences are of that. I just wondered whether you'd like to share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that if the case is made, first of all, that there is value to be realized from that. So that's the first step is, well, what am I going to get from actually sharing data or doing analytics over my data in the first place? So we need those clear demonstrations, and I think that volume is building up. But then how we go about doing those data collaboratives, certainly from my organization's perspective, a lot of the focus from the technical perspective is then, well, technically, how do we enable those data collaboratives to happen such that rights are respected and that not too much, no one's giving away information that they don't agree to do. But then the focus is then, in terms of how we operationalize this, is how do we set up those data collaboratives themselves organizationally? I suspect at a national level, it's too hard a problem to crack initially, and but that shouldn't stop us actually trying to work out. Ultimately, we need to get into rooms and dialogues to work out, well, what would actually work for the various participants involved. But in absence of that, then we're seeing a lot more of organizations then in supply chains going, well, we recognize as a subset, there's value that we all are going to get by sharing data. And so they themselves are then establishing these data collaboration principles. So it's not going to be worked out by just sitting in a room and thinking hard about it. We need to experiment, but experiment in a safe way. And so that's where we're going to be seeing the experimentation going on. And from that, we should have a way. We should need to make sure there are ways in which we can harvest the learnings from that. Right. And then, we to an extent entrust our banks to invest our money on our behalf, because their power to actually generate a return on investment is better when things are aggregated together. But we defer some control to the banks in terms of what they invest in, and you can choose, who your investor is on your behalf. Who that organization is, what that organizational structure is for an organization that invests your data on your behalf. Granted, I think that as individuals who are owning data, know that we're not necessarily able to explore and exploit all the opportunities that we would like to us in having our data, recognizing that there are others who have a view over data sets of multiple organizations and multiple participants, might have that overview and identify the better opportunities for you such that you can get value from that data. But that's just a view of how the shape it's likely to be taking into the future. Right. We need to get really experimenting with different ways to do it in a safe environment so that we can learn from what works and what doesn't work, fail fast and succeed faster.
So have confidence to share your data going forward then. Right, we're going to take a question from the floor. Number 1, please.
Thank you. Thomas Berger from BetaBugs, an insect breeding company. And I'm a bit biased, but what we've got is a number of emerging industries in the UK and globally. So things which will be providing alternative protein and feedstocks, such as algae, insects, and bacterial protein. This is a great opportunity to get artificial intelligence involved from the get-go, potentially. So what's your take, and how would you see that getting involved, and when?
Oh, any new emerging industry like that should absolutely be looking at how they then implement artificial intelligence to make it even better. You would have a successful business without, no doubt, but given that you've got the momentum of an emerging industry, a startup or whatever, why not also explore the additional value you can get by, for example, building forecasts into your production schedule, doing optimum supply and demand, detecting early whether there are problems in the system and all these sorts of things. So it's a no-brainer that you should be considering using artificial intelligence in any new emerging industry. Yeah.
Any more questions from the floor? Oh, we've got one over here.
Hi, I'm David Hill. I'm an estate manager and an emerging leader. My question on data is on receivership. It's very well that we as farmers, landowners, land managers, or whatever, have this data tool. Thinking of the likes of subsidies and support payments and things which are very much under the microscope at the moment, and we're heading towards an outcome-based approach in the way that farms are supported financially by government. We had difficulties in the years past in even getting government to recognise from our fairly advanced, relatively advanced farming systems, the likes of hedgerow lengths, field types, crop uses, etc., all because the government systems couldn't cope with our data.
Yeah.
So do you feel that government is lacking behind in its ability to take this data forward, and how can we approach that? Or rectify it, sorry.
I hesitate to say behind, but I certainly have seen, from what I've seen elsewhere, lots of opportunities for improvement in using more advanced computational systems to help with the use of the data. So, a farmer, a producer supplying a data set seems quite an outmoded way of going about doing that exchange. It's the sort of thing that someone should be granted access to have a look at, and those data pipelines are set up. Those data pipelines don't exist. The understanding of how we go about it doesn't exist. But and as a result, again, there's unrealized savings or value. And so I totally agree with you that with the sentiment that we should be looking at making improvements about how we're doing data exchange and not adopting old modalities of exchanging large data sets between silos, for example.
Great. Well, yeah, so government seamless data exchange, that seems a mile away. But look, we've run out of time, Matthew. Thank you very much for that. That was a wonderful, although brief insight into the world of data analytics. Thank you very much.
Thank you.